Good. All right, this is a call to order. This is the German Village Commission hearing for March 2nd, 2022. It is 4:04 p.m. We're here at 11 North Front Street, second floor, room 204. The next business meeting will be Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022 at 12 o'clock p.m. at 111 North Front Street, second floor, room 204. The next hearing will be Wednesday, April 8th, April 6th, 2022 at 4 p.m., 111 North Front Street, second floor, room 204. Go ahead and swear in the staff. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and the truth.
Yes, I do. Morgan Graham.
Do an introduction of commissioners present. Start on the left.
Brent Foley.
Netfield. Anthony Hartke, chair.
Karen McCoy.
For all those in attendance, please ensure that you're following City of Columbus's COVID-19 Safe Work Practice Guidance version 17. As far as items of public forum, do we have any items of public forum?
We do not.
We have not. We'll move ahead to the staff approvals, which begin down on page 10 of the agenda. Good. There are no recusals. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the staff approval.
Second. Question on the motion? All those in favor? Against? Ayes have it, motion passes. Moving on to the minutes from last meeting, February 2nd, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Second. Questions on the motion? Those in favor? Against? Ayes have it, motion passes. All right, move ahead to the staff recommended applications. Item 1, GB-22-03-007, 739 South 3rd Street. If you please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and the truth?
Yes, I do.
And please state your name for the record.
BJ Lieberman.
Sir?
Proposed work description for this property is applicants proposing to reinstall temporary patio that was previously approved in April 2021, number GB 21-04-025. Items listed are from the past approval application. Install a temporary 9-foot by 36-foot patio in front of the restaurant at the east elevation per submitted plans. Patio to be installed for a period of 6 months. Temporary wrought iron fence to be schoolhouse style, 30 inches in height and anchored into brick pavers. Wrought iron fencing to be wrought iron as proposed to iron length. Final details of anchoring fencing to be submitted to staff prior to installation. That was already submitted as part of this the materials for this application. Brick pavers are to be replaced like for like in the exact same shape, dimension, and color, like for like matching the adjacent existing sidewalk upon removal of patio and or fencing. Any new base to be permeable. No awning or umbrellas to be installed. Remove existing vestibule. Benches and trash can have been removed by landlord. Applicants stated earlier was previously approved in April 2021 for temporary patio installation. The applicant was also recently approved to reinstall a temporary vestibule at the front entrance, number GB 21-11-024. They will be removing the vestibule to install the temporary patio. Staff recommends approval as reviewed with any clarifications to be submitted to HPO staff to review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate with conditions that the temporary vestibule removal be added to this application for approval. This is based off of CC 3116-13, standards of site improvements.
Anything else to add?
No, sir.
Questions, comments from the commission?
So I guess one is we want to add the removal of the vestibule as part of this.
Yes.
Okay, and the second question I have is what is the date for the start of this, so we know when the 6 months is up?
We can say April 1st.
Okay.
Hopefully the weather will be nice enough by then.
Yeah.
As a note, all the materials from this application are the same as what was from previous application.
Mr. Chairman, on item GB 2203-007, 739 South Third Street, I move to approve as amended by the applicant that it includes the removal of the temporary vestibule and that it is activated or active or whatever you want to call it, starts on April 1st of this year.
Second. Any questions on the motion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving ahead to item number 2, GB-22-03-008, 1094 South 4th Street. If you please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? I do. Please state your name for the record. Christopher Brunner.
Proposed work is to replace non-original sliding patio door on the rear of the steel. Applicant proposes to replace with a white Marvin fiberglass exterior, finished wood interior sliding glass door, but is open to making the exterior fiberglass door dark bronze. Staff analysis, the existing sliding glass door did not receive a prior COA, but was there when owner moved in 2000. There is a record of a complaint being made in 1992 about a new sliding glass door installation without a COA, but there was not any additional documentation. Applicant originally proposed a vinyl sliding glass door as a proposed replacement. Staff had initially reached out to applicant stating that vinyl doors are not approved within German Village and recommended to replace in kind for staff approval or fiberglass, which would have to be reviewed by commission. Applicant is willing to use a dark bronze finish. Staff recommends approval with any and all clarifications to be submitted to HPO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate that the applicant selects dark bronze black as the exterior color. Based off of German Village Guidelines amendments, door replacement, page 179. The following criteria should be considered in determining whether door replacement is appropriate. The door is not original or contributing.
Anything else to add? Any questions, comments from the commission?
So is this a vinyl or is this a fiberglass replacement?
The replacement would be fiberglass. The current door is, I think, steel.
Okay. I wasn't quite sure where
Yeah.
we were at. Okay. I guess the other color's the other issue?
Yes, applicant's proposing white, but he's open to using dark bronze or black to match what is existing there for color. I'm not sure why these pictures got flipped upside down, but
I guess the question is, why would we want to match something that was not approved previously? And would the white be better off?
I didn't understand why white would be a problem. Okay.
Yeah, I would prefer the white.
Motion. Mr. Chairman, on item GB 2203-008, 1094 South 4th Street, I move to approve as submitted with a fiberglass door that's white.
Second. Questions on the motion? All those in favor? Against? Ayes have it, motion passes. Thank you. Item 3, GB-22-03-009, 1050 Yeager Street. If all three of you would please raise your right hands. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Please state your name for the record.
Joseph Wickham.
Thank you.
Stephanie Wickham.
Thank you very much.
proposed work description, applicant is seeking variance recommendation for existing condition. 333226C1, minimum side yard permitted to reduce the minimum north side yard from 3 feet to 1.8 feet. And 333225, maximum side yard to reduce maximum side yard from 5.97 feet to 5.2 feet. For staff analysis, project was approved for design in July, number GB 2107047. Staff recommends that commission recommends approval to the BZA submitted. This is based off of German Village Guidelines, zoning variances, page 139.
Questions, comments from the commission?
Mr. Chair, on item number 3, GV 2203-009, 1050 Yeager Street, I move to approve as submitted.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? I will ask for clarification, but these are all existing conditions, correct?
Yes.
Take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it, motion passes. Thank you. Thank you much. On to continued applications. Item number 4, GV-22-02-007, 713 South Sixth Street. And if you both please raise your right hands. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
And please state your name for the record.
Suzanne Vennemeyer.
Thank you.
Mark Ruthermore.
Thank you.
Proposed work description, removal of blue spruce tree in rear yard, southwest corner of house, grind down remaining stump. The tree was planted too close to the house foundation approximately 20 years ago. This posed a hazard to the foundation house and needs to be removed. Staff analysis, commissioners requested at the past February business meeting to clarify if the applicant has the intention of planting a replacement tree, new replacement tree in the same location. Applicant responded stating that they do not have the intention of planting a tree, or they do, I apologize. They do have the intention of planting a tree in the future, but not in the same location since it will be too close to the house foundation. They plan on renovating the backyard in the future and plan on doing it with that application. Staff recommends approval with any all clarification to be submitted to HPO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate. This is based off of 311613, standards for site improvements, letter
Anything else to add? Questions, comments from the commission?
Mr. Chair, on item number 4, GV 2202-007, 713 South Sixth Street, I move to approve as submitted.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor? Against? Ayes have it, motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 5, GV-22-01-005, 771 South Fifth Street. You both please raise your right hands. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Jody Rhodes with Ohio Radon Mitigation. Patricia Janikowicz.
Thank you very much. Morgan?
Proposed work description, this application is a response to a code violation of a radon mitigation system installed prior to its COA being issued. The radon system has been installed on the southeast corner. Radon level is 10.3 on first floor of an actively occupied living area. Applicant was told by contractor that the street side was the only option for installation due to the construction configuration of basement walls. Applicant intended to paint the piping the same color as existing shingles on the structure. Staff analysis, the following is taken from unapproved, now approved, February 2nd, 2022, Durban Village Commission hearing minutes. Commissioner comments, commissioners asked applicant the reason the northeast corner wasn't able to be used. The applicant responded that the exit would have been too close to the electrical panel, as well as the exit pipe would be too close to the second floor window. Commissioners indicated that the street side is unacceptable for the pipe to be exiting to be seen. Commissioners like to see if there are any other options that could work. Commissioners asked if the pipe could exit the northeast corner, run along the exterior horizontally under the porch, and then exit further east on the building to place it further away from the second floor windows. Applicant could not speak to it at this point, but would consult with the Ohio Radon Mitigation. The commissioners asked at the past March business meeting if staff had received any additional information requested from the previous hearing. Staff informed commissioners that applicant had not submitted any new information and would request that information to be sent prior to the March hearing. Applicant has since responded stating the mitigation code does not permit horizontal pipe runs. Horizontal pipe runs collect water and there is no way for the water to drain, which affects the system performance. Staff recommends approval with any clarifications to be submitted to HPO staff to review and approval prior to issuance of certificate. With the condition that the PVC piping be painted to match the color of the exterior siding. This is based off of CC 311618. Approvals required. Letter C.
Anything else to add? Questions, comments from the commission?
My question is, there's horizontal piping in the basement. Why is that different than from the outside?
The horizontal piping in the basement has grade on it, which allows water to drain into the initial extraction point. The exterior piping, there's not enough room to get grade on the pipe. Water would just sit in it and it would gurgle and it wouldn't allow for air movement through the fan.
In a 4-inch pipe?
Pardon me?
In a 4-inch pipe.
Correct.
And there's no way that it could drain like the interior does.
Not with the proposed pipe run on the exterior underneath the porch.
Why would that be?
There's not enough room. So when you run plumbing pipe, you need a certain amount of grade over a certain period of foot.
Mhm.
And this would end up having to lay on the ground. There's no way to grade the piping that would be run horizontally.
So if it came out at the same elevation of the basement wall on the north side that it is on the south side. And so interior is sloping from that point down towards the intake point, right?
Technically,
So when it comes out, well, that's what you just said, I'm sorry. So then if you went outside and you started up a slope, you're saying that that slope, you couldn't slope it at that grade or?
so the interpretation that I was given was to come out of the home and then horizontally run this direction. There's not enough
Alongside the
room.
house?
Yes, there's not enough room to get grade on the piping. And then, even then, the exit would violate our 10-2 window rule for the window that's on the second story of the house,
Well, we were looking at getting it towards the back of the house.
which there's a porch in the way.
Well, we were talking about going under the porch or over the porch.
I can't run the piping under the porch.
And why would that be?
I'm not permitted to by Ohio radon mitigation code.
And that is Ohio Revised Code or
There
your,
is,
pardon me?
it is. There is Ohio revised code for Ohio radon
Okay.
mitigation.
Can you, just out of curiosity, can you tell me what that is?
I don't know the number off the top of my
Okay,
head.
thank you. We can look it up, but okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we have very strict guidelines. That's why the design of the system was done the way it was to begin with. Because
Okay,
there just isn't any way to get the system exteriorly anyway to not violate our code. And if I violate the code and it gets inspected by the Ohio Department of Health, then I lose my radon
but I
license.
believe there is an option for running it up inside the house.
Pardon me?
I believe there is an option for running it up inside the house.
Inside the house? On the
Inside a
interior
chase.
walls?
Inside, a chase inside the house, yes.
That would require a lot of construction.
I'm just bringing it up. I'm just saying that that is an option. Now, whether the commission wants to approve what you've done, that's up to them. I'm just saying it is an option.
That's a homeowner decision. It would have to be cut
Abs-
through floors and drywall
ab-
and roofing,
Absolutely correct.
and it would be expensive,
And absolutely correct. I understand that.
but doable.
Yeah, but do, right, thank you.
My only question is, if we do approval, I would ask that if you can contact staff, just let them know what the code reference is. So we know in the future, because these things happen from time to time in the village, we
Sure.
want to know what that code is.
I can get it as soon as I get back to my office.
That'd be great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
On item number 5, application GV 2201-005, 771 South Fifth Street, I move to approve as submitted.
Is there a second? Any questions on the motion?
Sorry to clarify the application, are they painting the pipe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Any questions on the motion?
I-
Yes.
If I may. So the painting of the pipe, the same color as the current shingles, which we do have paint from the previous owner that we can match, that has also been approved within this motion?
That's part of your application,
Yes,
yes?
that's what I thought, but I just wanted to be sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. No questions? Take the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Against?
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion passes.
Thank
Just get
you.
that code reference to Morgan, we appreciate it.
Yeah, perfect. Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Item number 6, GV-22-01-006, 275 East Whittier Street. You all please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
Austin Pope?
Thank you.
Heidi Negron.
Thank you.
Tom Stevenson.
Thank you very much.
Proposed work description, construction of a new 2-story wood frame carriage house, which will sit within the current property lines at the dimensions shown on the attached plans. Height to be 24 feet, which is below the average height of the adjacent properties that are an average of 24.7 feet, with total lot coverage being 42%. The proposed carriage house will be set back 2.3 feet to align with neighboring properties and allow for a larger turning radius. Redesigned interior stair to be relocated to allow for 2 double garage doors. These garage doors are to be 10 feet doors and centered on the back of the structure. Windows are recentered to show separation between the windows and the top trim detailing. Doors and windows have been aligned where possible. Carriage house facade will meet German village requirements. Smooth painted lap siding with 5.5 inch exposure, either to be hardy or borer. Windows will be 3 feet by 6 feet, double hung with no grids. Doors will be 3 feet by 6 feet, 8 inches, 4 panels with 1 foot, 4 inches transom. Trim details to match GB standards per submitted drawings. The existing wood fence to be removed only to the extent of the new structure. Zoning and variances to be discussed at meeting. The past March business meeting, Commissioner asked applicant to provide the verified heights measured by the hired architect prior to the March hearing. That has been provided. The following is taken from the unapproved February 2nd, 2022 German Village Commission hearing minutes. Commissioner comments, Commissioner Thiel stated that he will challenge the height of the adjacent structures that have been provided. He states that 271 East Whittier Street, based off his assessment, is 139 inches, 11 feet, 7 inches in height. 281 East Whittier Street is 16 feet, 8 inches in height. Average height for 281 and 271 East Whittier is 14 feet, 2 inches. 252 Reinhardt Avenue is 12 feet in height. 256 Reinhardt Avenue is 9 feet, 7 inches in height. 255 Concord Place is 184 inches, 15 feet, 4 inches in height. Average height for 252, 256, and 255 Concord Place is 12 feet, 4 inches. Will not be counting the open lot next door to 281 East Whittier Street. Commissioner Harkey challenged the height as well, and based off his assessment, he received the same measurements as Commissioner Thiel. Commissioner Harkey still thinks that it's significantly taller in comparison to all the alleyscape. With new information presented, Commissioner Foley stated that his main issue on taking action for this application is the massing and verifying the height. Commissioner Farrell questioned, are both commissioners and applicant measuring the same? He was not sure where both should be measuring. Commissioner suggested a site visit between staff, Commissioner Harkey, and applicant to verify the heights in person. Commissioner Thiel stated that larger homes have carriage houses because the carriage house would store the carriages, food for horses and staff. Commissioners agree that garages or carriage houses should never compete or overwhelm with existing neighboring historic buildings, that new buildings cannot be higher than the average height. Applicant asked about 673 Mohawk Street, stating that it had a third floor deck. Commissioners stated that an existing historic structure, which historically had a widow's walk, is not comparable to a new carriage house structure with third floor patio on the alley side of the property. Commissioner Durst stated that maybe lowering the ceiling heights on the first and second floor would help with minimizing the massing. Commissioner Harkey stated to break up the massing vertically. Railing on top is also adding additional 3 feet of height. Commissioner stated that double garage doors are not generally approved. Commissioners recommend that 2 garage doors be proposed instead. Staff recommends that commission offers feedback on the design and recommends to continue the application. This is based off of standards for new construction, 311612, and German Village guidelines, new buildings, garages and outbuildings, page 113, number 1, 9, 11, 12, and 13.
Anything else to add?
Yeah, I'd just like to comment that for our last meeting, we really took what you guys said about the appropriateness of the current design into consideration. And so we made several design changes, which you guys can see right here. You know, we decreased the second floor height by a foot and 6 inches so that we could achieve the slope that you guys had recommended for us. We also modified the garage door. So instead of having 1 double door, we have now 2 single doors, and we centered those. And we really think that the sloping of the garage on the alley reduces the massing, which was a lot of the discussion last time. Additionally, I know there was questions of fact about what the average height of the building was compared with all the other ones. So we hired Alex Poe, who's here with us today, to take the measurements, and is a professional licensed architect. He provided the heights as he had measured them and can go into that in greater detail if you guys would like.
Questions, comments from the commission?
So I'm interested in why the alley originally only ran to Jaeger. And now you're considering, I believe, the alley all the way to Mohawk is contributing to the effect on this property?
It's not clear under the code what you should be considering when you're saying, you know, the view from the street. So we'd rather have more information and then discuss with you guys what would be appropriate to use than have less, which is part of the reason that we used Alex to take a measure.
I have no problem with Alex's calculations.
Just a quick clarification.
Austin, sorry.
Austin, sorry, thank you. You're right.
Thanks.
You're right.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, you know, I got out there with the laser measure tool. Obviously done a lot of field verification in the past, and so wanted to get accurate dimensions. Once again, having more that we can make an educated decision. So
So typically, it's the block that the structure is on, is what we look at, not beyond that. So I think correctly, in consideration before from, yeah. Yeah, exactly, was what we consider. And I think everything to the east of this is outside the district, so it doesn't really affect this property either. And I'll make an analogy to that. When we were looking at a hotel up in Livingston, and there was making the case for what was going on, the brewery should affect that, and we rejected that.
I'll make a statement in the applicant's favor. We had been talking about the 281 property immediately adjacent in previous discussions. So it's been part of the consideration on both sides. So I'm willing to leave 281 in the conversation. And everything east to me is outside our boundaries.
Okay. So that being said, taking your measurements, and I looked at, how do we figure out what the height of a property is? And I thought, well, we get exemptions for roofing. You'd have to go for this for height also in the zoning. And it's no carport or detached, I'm gonna read this in, or detached private garage will exceed 15 feet in height, which you'd have to get a variance for, which we typically give. The particular straight line measured from curb level or from finished grade line of the lot where such grade is higher than the curb, the highest point of such garage, except that in the University District, Impact District is fine, blah, 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 and those areas having an Architectural Review Commission, blah, 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 which is us. The 15-foot height limit may be exceeded in order to achieve a compatible roof pitch, provided in the University Review Board, the appropriate Architectural Review Commission, or the Historic Resource Commission, as the case may be, finds the increased roof pitch is compatible with the established architectural character of the district, and further provided the increased roof pitch does not result in habitable space. So that says, in my definition, my belief is we're looking at from grade to the highest point of the garage for what the zoning says. Okay, not the average height, but the highest point, the ridge of the others, okay? So I'm taking that, and I'm gonna go along with what you said about the other one, but it's not my thing. So 263 Whittier is 15'6" to the ridge. 267 Whittier doesn't count. 271 Whittier is 11 foot. So we got two properties there that are contributing on that side. The average of those are 13 foot, 4.5. On the other side of the street, south side of Concord, we have 252 Reinhardt, which is 16 foot 4 to the ridge. 256 Reinhardt, which is 10 foot 6. 255 Concord, which is 21 foot 9, for an average height of 16 foot 2. The guidelines state that should fall at or below the average height of the surrounding structures. The overall height of the building will affect its proportions, so the maximum height of the building should be considered when planning the massing of the building. The height of the new building should be no higher than the average heights, that's each height of each building of the surrounding structures. I think you're still in excess of what the average height of the buildings are.
And I would say,
So,
it trying,
just real quick, just to clarify, how to calculate the dimension included in the exhibit, you take the bottom of the eave to the peak of the roof and the mean distance of that at the center of the.
And I'm using the definition from the zoning code.
Okay, that's what I.
I had to go someplace, because I pondered it last night looking at this, and I thought, where do we set this? And I'm gonna go back to something that's already stated in the law.
Yeah, so that's what I copied and pasted on the exhibit.
Yeah, and I got where you got it from. And then to figure out the average height of per structure,
I did the same from the eave to the peak.
yeah, but the backside, you have to calculate that in also. And that's a consistent 21 foot 6. So the average height of that is not the average of the slope. That's half, average height of that slope is half of it, and then you gotta figure out what the other half is tall, so you're still up there.
So when we talk about what's viewed from the street, what street are we referencing?
I think you have to look at it from both sides. I don't think you can look at it just from one, because this is a corner property.
Okay. So even looking at the underside, so what's the dimensions that you're calculating on the Blackberry
It's to the ridge,
and the ridge and ridge only?
right, because that's what the code calls for, how it's measured for height.
I would say, and to look at what the applicant has provided, looking at the calculated height here, which is that somewhere mid-range point. At 16.9, the property adjacent 2010, across the alley 16.8, everything else is down further below. That mid-range height is still greater than the average of adjacent properties, if you run the numbers. Then trying to be devil's advocate, trying to find a path forward for you. Looking, if I were to look down Concord Place, there's a representative picture of, I would say, almost every property up until a certain point, which would kind of run to 241 on the north side and 232 on the south. Then we're throwing in a couple extra ones at the very end, but there's 6 to 8 other garages in between that 241, 232 to these other 4 at the very end, which then drags down the overall down that way. So I find it hard. I don't think trying to put those other 4 into the conversation is doing any help, because you got to put the rest of those in there. And 3 of those 4 are historic structures as well. True carriage houses from back in the day, 2 being houses on the park, which are more grand and ornate in general. So I struggle with the height. I think what you have done with the roof, putting the pitch on the alley side, I think that helps a lot. I think the garage doors being center, I think that helps a lot. Everything you've done so far is getting it there. To me, the only sticking point I have left is the height. I don't know what can be done to resolve it.
So, quick question. So as far as we talk about the Blackberry view, right? And views of the neighboring properties, correct? So who's viewing that side of the elevation?
I don't understand your question.
From
So-
Blackberry?
Yeah, go ahead, Brent.
You're asking from Blackberry?
Yeah.
I think anybody walking down Blackberry or driving down Blackberry would view that side, right? Is that what you're asking?
So I guess when, as far as when I think of the properties impacted, I think the properties directly adjacent to the site, directly to the east, directly to the south, directly to the west, and seeing that, our average height is under the 4S building. It's almost the exact same height of the 255 house directly across the street, which is, I'd say they're the most impacted, right? They're gonna be looking out, out their window at it.
But by zoning code, your building's 24 feet tall. It's not the average. Zoning code for height for a garage looks at from grade to the highest point of the roof, not the average, the highest point.
I do think that there is something to what Austin is saying, is that we don't have the properties adjacent on Blackberry to review and compare. And if you're to Anthony's, I don't know if it was Anthony or Ned, you said that, the back is still what it is. It doesn't have the pitch. I think the back has to be compared to the building on Blackberry, right? As you view it from Blackberry, not as you view it from Concord. From my standpoint, I think we got a little caught up last time because it was how many things are we varying. I think they've done the work they're only varying massing now. The detailing, the doors, the materials and things have all been modified. In consideration of the sloping, I feel much better about this application myself. That's where I am. And don't see anything jumping off.
I think the only piece, I agree to an extent, I think the only piece right now of detailing that would be atypical is the railing up on the roof. And I see that it got brought down. If I were to go forward, the railing has to come down so it's not engaging the top point of the roof, like we typically do a dormer. It's not the same thing as a dormer, but functionally, visually, it kind of speaks the same thing. As far as the massing on the back of the structure, I don't have a problem with that.
Even though it's too tall.
The boxy nature of the massing.
Yeah.
The height is the piece that's really,
I mean, garage and outbuildings that overwhelm or compete with the residence or neighborhood structures are not subordinate and therefore should be avoided. Keep overall dimensions as small as possible. That's 114-10 of the guidelines.
So as far as competing with the residents within German Village, from their view, if you look at it from the alley, it's the same height as that or as the 255 structure directly across the street. And then with the roof line tapering away, I walked up and down that alley way too many times the other day. And by sloping the roof away when you're there physically at eye level, that doesn't seem obtrusive. If it pitched the other way, then I think it would feel more, in your face. But once again, from a perspective view, that roof does not feel like it's at, what was it, 24 feet?
Mm-hmm.
No, I think we agree with the alley. I think Anthony's point is more on the other side as viewed from Blackbird. I don't want to speak for you, but Anthony, but I think that's what you're getting at.
Yep.
And then we would be using also the house, right? If we would review Blackberry, because Blackberry.
Well, that's what's not in the application to see, but I would say yes. I mean, if we're using the contour block for the alley side, then we should use the Blackberry.
And go down south too.
Yeah, the whole block, either direction. I think that's a obvious interpretation of what we've all talked through here. Yeah. And we don't have those measured, is that right?
But just at a first glance, just knowing what those structures look like, that would make this pretty quick commute point, just based on the height of those structures.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at that elevation and obviously it's oversized, bottom line, with your calculations or anything.
So is it just? So
Big?
I'd like to point out a distinction maybe between the guidelines and the requirement of compatible as viewed from the street. So the guidelines are saying, if you read them carefully, it says the height of the new building should fall at or below the average height of the surrounding structures. So to me, that would mean the houses that are also surrounding it. And then there's another requirement in the code that says that height as viewed from the street will be compatible with the surrounding structures. So I can understand there's one part of the requirement, which is when you're looking at it from the street, it needs to be compatible with all the other structures that are around there. And we think that ours is because the 4S building is taller. We're only slightly taller than the house that's directly across the alley from there.
By 1 inch.
By
just
one,
right.
1 inch, yeah.
That's a pebble beam in the way, right?
And then, we're taller than the one-story garage structure that's there. To me, we're fitting within that compatible. We're compatible from the view of the street, which is a different requirement necessarily than it doesn't meet or exceed the average.
So I would say using the house across the street is using the exception to the rest of the buildings. Because you're changing the whole standards then, at that point. And we've always compared it to what's adjacent along the storefront and not what's behind.
And
Unless we want to change that. I mean,
So the
that
only,
changes everything. That changes a lot of what we've ever based everything on. I'm not saying that that's wrong.
but then when I look at 232, it's obviously a structure that was approved and is taller than all the garages that are on that alley. So I don't understand how that one can be approved.
232.
232, Reinhardt.
That's Reinhardt. There was an original garage there in 1910 and 1920, and they were just replacing around that same square footage. I would say more mass from that time as well. But it's also a Queen Anne home that had a carriage house in the rear.
So replacing an old carriage house with a newer carriage house.
Thanks.
Can we just point out the structure directly to the west, I'm all in favor of baselining design off of, I don't want to make any knocks on, that structure, but I don't know if we want to set our standards based on that structure that's on the west.
You mean the garage?
Yeah, that's not, it's a lack of character, no design content, whatsoever.
Oh my.
What's that?
It said, oh my.
What?
It said, oh my.
Oh, right.
Obviously, you don't have the benefit of the full commission here too, which is a challenge. Because if I'm reading, we might be split. Which is if we vote, it's a non-pass, right? I'm just reading the room.
I'm close. I'm just trying to find a way to get myself onto the applicant's side here.
And Anthony, you're saying your problem is that the railing height matches the ridge height?
So it's the overall height, overall height is what it is. Right now it's 24 feet, which we've identified as larger than any.
Can we just clarify that real quick, that it's 16'9" as measured per code and not 24 feet? Yeah, I'm not making it up, I just want to point to the facts of what the code says.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to ask for a zoning height variance sooner or later, which is based on the highest, not the average. That's where I'm going.
And to your point, yes, 69 is the calculation you provided, and
Can I be
that-
one?
You'll have to, the chair.
One chair,
please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and the truth.
especially on Ash Wednesday.
That's true.
Please,
So,
please take name, please take name for the record.
Pardon?
Please take your name for the record.
Jimmy Negron.
Thank you.
I'm the father of the. So, just if I could try to help you a second. When we were together, each time we tried to listen to what the commission had said, and you specifically, I think there's a few things that we did that drove the complete redesign. One was the garage doors. You had said, hey, the architecture is driving the garage doors being off. I'd like to see the garage doors. Done, right? How we did that, we had to move the stairwell to the back. And you talked about bringing that, at least getting the massing down, done. So those two things were really driven by the dialogue that we were having, that we were really close on, that you specifically had said, hey, like these, and there was the other,
Teresa.
yeah, Teresa was, you and her were pretty much on the same wavelength. So with those things we took care of that were very specific to what you had requested.
And I do appreciate that. I think what's coming before us is much closer to approvable. Like I said, I'm right on that edge. And I think, to me, it seems like the height of this structure, which is a problem, is being driven by the third floor patio. And to me, the easiest path forward is if we get rid of that, then that peak can come down just a bit, and I can get by on that. I can get by on dropping that by, was it 2 feet or so?
Yeah, but that's a big component of the program.
Yeah, I understand.
In 2 meetings prior, when we were discussing the rooftop, it was a railing, the metal railing that we had. It was asked for us to take away the actual railing and change it into, excuse me, I don't know the technical term of the material that we're
It's this
using.
architectural detailing, which I agreed with. It was the.
So what was stated by Commissioner Thiel is that he didn't care what we did in the back of the home. And that if we wanted to move that rooftop patio to the back of the home so that it was out of, Concord sight, then he would be okay with that. That was said in, not last meeting in January, but in December. That was also taken into consideration when we revised this, is that is now towards the back of the carriage house and is in that area in between my home and now this. And surfacing today, it is now a concern that we're now considering this a problem, even though when we considered this for the design, we took that into account.
And I'll state that if you look back at the record, I wasn't here 2 meetings ago when that conversation happened. I have stated that the detailing of a railing on the third floor to create a third floor patio, that railing up there is causing, in my opinion, detailing inconsistent with what you would see in the village. And that railing is causing height increase on the pitch of the roof, which is exacerbating the height issue. I've been consistent on that position the entire time through. So it's nothing new.
Your
for me.
statement is not correct. Because the height of the railing is not driving the architecture. Right? So the railing height is not driving the architecture, because if you remember, that detail around there was commensurate with a detailing that's very similar with the type of structure that it is, So the height of the railing is just, when you think about a program and how you design, and I'm not an architect, but I work with a lot of architects, you put a program together and then you put this design together. And what we've done each time when we met with the commission is try to shrink this down to a that, so we could still meet the program, and everything got slightly compromised. I think the architecture was enhanced in the process. So when I told Heidi, and at the end of the day, I think this is better than what we originally came up with. I believe that wholeheartedly. I think that this is enhancing the value. I think that the point that you made about the piece of crap garage next door to it is going to be hidden now because it's a beautiful building across the street. You know, so this is it's a much more enhanced architectural design, but the height is not determined by just having that detail around there. It's all part of the program. It is part of the program. It's part of a program that has been approved in German Village before.
I would challenge that.
So I could take a picture from Mohawk when I was leaving Lindy's at brunch and looked at Bob Walter's rooftop patio. And I was barely at the corner of Sycamore and Mohawk, and I saw Bob's patio on the old German Village School.
And we discussed that at the last meeting.
It's still in the rooftop deck though. We can't, and it has railing, it doesn't have any kind of architectural detail. So that is a fact.
A historic
The Santeen's
house.
hold on a second, the Santeen's house, right, that you approved on 2 different Santeen projects has railing. In fact, the Santeen's house has railing with blue LED light. Okay? So, you know, that those are facts.
You know, if I may, those facts, the schoolhouse is a historic focal point of the village. It's a historic structure that has always had a widow's walk up there. So comparing a widow's walk to a patio is not a far stretch.
I did the job.
Okay.
It did not have that railing all the way around there.
Okay.
Okay, that was not part of that. Okay, we installed the railing.
Okay.
Santeen's, they're very close friends of mine.
And
That
the
railing
Santeen's-
that with the LED lighting that you guys approved about 2-3 years ago, you know, so and you know, Santeen's rooftop deck opens up the Frank Fetch Park. You want to talk about a historic significant area in German Village. We all know the history of Frank Fetch Park, how it became and how it's a community asset and the significance the community feels about that park. So I'm just saying let's not mix apples and oranges here is the only thing I'm asking.
And if I can finish my original statement, is those 2 Santeen properties, it's a second floor. It's not a third floor.
One's the second floor, one's 1.5. Because it's on top of a commercial garage, not a residential house. The auto house is the 183 Beck Street rear is a commercial garage.
And the second floor, from the exterior, it's the second floor of the property. Yes? It's on the second floor level of the property, yes?
Yeah.
So that's mine.
So I just, want to sort it back. I think what's should be driving this is what's viewed from German Village and viewed from Concord. If that's it, I don't even know there's a rooftop up there.
Well, Austin, your point is that the rooftop is not viewable from anywhere.
Because Mr. Deal said that's what he said. That when Heidi clarified that being behind it was, part of that drove the architecture.
Yeah, my issue is the height.
And I would get that if it was on the, German Village side on Concord, I'd say absolutely. But the height that it's on Blackberry and it's next to the 4S building and lower than the 4S building,
Yeah,
and it's lower than the house, so,
Still height. I do the average of the ridges and.
yeah, but the houses right there are massive. There are 10-foot ceilings on the first floor, 9.5-foot ceilings on the second floor.
Still looking at it from
The
Concord.
foundation sticking up 2.5 feet.
I'm still looking at it from Concord.
If you look at it from the adjacent contributing properties, it's not larger than the largest property that's there. It's really within.
And as I said, we've always looked at it from the alleyscape, and we never considered what the houses were on the next street over, so.
so if we go, so if we.
Well, that is supposed to be just compatible. That doesn't mean that it has to be at or below the average height. So with
To
all
me, the
the
bottom line is,
structures-
this is a secondary building on the back of this with a bunch of other secondary buildings. And it's too big, it's too tall for the guidelines. The guidelines tell me that I have to say no.
So can I just clarify real quick? Can we base the Concord elevation based off of Concord? And if we want to talk about the rooftop patio, well, let's judge it based on Blackberry. So I'll get the dimensions from the house, Heidi's house, the dimensions from the 4S building, the dimensions from 255, the dimensions from that block of Blackberry, and we'll realize that this is grossly under the average of those buildings.
100%.
That doesn't work for me, but it may work for the other commissioners.
I want to talk about facts. You know,
And we're not.
well,
I mean,
by saying what I just
My
said,
point, the fact, might simply the fact that the ridge on this building is 24 feet. And the average ridges on both sides of the street are less than that. And this building should be less than the average of the heights along the alley, is how I read it.
but
It's how we've always acted historically on this commission when we look at streetscapes or alleyscapes.
But that's not what the guidelines say, right? The guidelines say the height of a new building should fall at or below the average height of the surrounding structures, which would include the houses that are there. And there's a second requirement that it be compatible from the view of the street, which might mean that it's a little bit taller than the average, as long as it doesn't overwhelm the other buildings that are there.
And I'm just saying, I'm trying to be consistent with what we've done in the past. Whether right or wrong, that's all I'm saying.
and once again, I just want to reference code and clarify that it's the mean from the eave to the peak.
And I'm reviewing the fact that you're gonna have to ask for a zoning variance to exceed 15 feet, and I'm taking that as the height of how it's calculated.
You keep referencing 24 feet. I just want to clarify that it's not 24 feet.
24 feet is the highest point of this garage, this building, is it not?
That is a fact.
Yeah.
But how the height is measured is the eave to the peak. Can we all agree on that, or?
By definition of the zoning code, no, it's from grade or curb to the highest point of the garage.
So guys, we're talking about two different definitions of height within the zone.
Yeah.
You're talking about the general definition of height. He's talking about a specific reference to garages
In the zoning code.
in the zoning code. He's also talking about the zoning code, which is cited in the materials that we
Yeah.
provided.
To clarify my point earlier, because I never got to fully finish. The point about the railing, looking at that elevation, it's a 3-foot railing, I'm assuming. Not a true dimension. We're at 24 feet. 3 feet of that pitch is being driven by the height of that railing, because you gotta get that, you're putting that railing behind the pitch of the roof. If that railing goes away, you're down to 21 feet. That's something I can get behind.
Now, can I show you something, Mr. Harkey? So you're talking about this pitch coming down to here, correct? But you're saying that that's what you're talking about. This height right here, we're already impeding in the usable of space for this pitch. So we consume square footage of our second floor to get this. And that's what I'm trying to say to you. You're saying, bring it down even more, it creates even further unusual space on the second floor. That's what I was trying to say to you is we've already consumed usable space because when you think about these heights, so that's what I'm saying architecturally, that's not, I was trying to explain architecturally what they were doing, not trying to dispute what you were saying, because you're saying bring this down even more, then we end up consuming even more square footage. That's that architecturally, that's what I'm saying. We've already shrunk the space on the second floor to get the detail out. Does that make sense now? It might not change your opinion, but what you're saying is bring it down even further, well, then we just further reduce the square footage, which we've already reduced square footage here. That's all I'm saying.
And
And
I,
you know,
yes.
I think I just wanted to point that out to you, so you understood that.
Anthony, if the railing was not there, would you still want the pitch removed, or is it the railing itself? Trying to get clarity.
I already think that if the railing stays, the railing needs to be lower than the peak. Because I would treat it as we would treat a door. We would not have the connection point being that peak, so it's gotta come down somewhat either way.
So could we not treat, instead of calling it a railing, could we treat it as a frieze in the corners, you know?
That's what it is.
Right, you know, we're talking railing, and I think in the typical sense of how you think about a railing, but if it's integrated into the design, once again, from street level, that's a part of the elevation and not
would you lose head height if you were able to just, the back portion, trying to get towards what Anthony's saying? If you were able to just lower the back portion a foot, would you still have the head height you need for the back section? So that they don't, it's a technical question, right? I don't know the structural member sizes, et cetera.
Yeah, the structure, I've been talking to Dan Gears about the structural member size. I mean,
You're already,
everything was short. We, you know, as we started to do this, we were trying to keep everything.
would that get you there, Anthony?
I think it would.
So if you were able to, you would keep the deck, but it would just, the railing would be a foot or so lower than the ridge. That was accomplishable, I think, what Anthony's saying. And then you're not losing program if you can make that work,
Yep.
Jimmy, right? You're just, might be gaining cost because you might have to do something a little bit more structural.
Yeah, like an LVL instead of a regular timber. But Anthony, I'll do that.
But so if they amend the application to say that, would that be enough for you or do you want to see it? This applicant's been here multiple times.
Seven times maybe?
Would the intent be to have the elevation, we can pull that up. We pull the elevation.
I think that's offside.
The previous design had less distance between the top of the first floor and the top of the second floor. So there was more vertical space between level 2 and your roof level.
It didn't represent the actual structural size, was the problem after talking to Dan Gears, the structure.
Okay,
You know what I mean, to get the spans, that's what happened.
yeah,
It became, you know, this was all conceptual, and
Right.
after talking to Dan, we had.
okay.
So if you were able to lower, Anthony, this a foot or so that it just didn't align exactly with that, you're starting to feel good about it?
I think that gets me back into the typical detailing we would see as far as engagements of roof lines. And then it's just simply the height then. That's the only
How does
thing.
the applicant feel about that?
If we leave here with a vote, I'd lower that.
But you can't, you're still gonna have to meet fire height on that.
So no, you'd have to lower the roof,
You'd have to lower the roof.
lower the
but you're
roof
still
foot, and lower
42
the railing
inches.
foot. And that's why I was asking if there was headspace in there.
Yeah.
It's 36 for residential, commercial's 42. Well, the OCC is 36, 42.
You got it.
And then to clarify.
I live in 42.
Is the railing design intend to be that kind of panelized system there, or what's the railing want to be?
It's hardy. It's not, it's more of a freeze detail. It's not really railing. We integrated, if you remember, we pulled the railing out, integrated into the architecture, which.
My suggestion.
I think that would get me there. It would look more like a garage.
Yep.
With an addition off the back.
Done.
So sounds like the applicant is willing to make that amendment to their application, so I'm gonna try for a motion here. Go for it. All right, what's the number?
GV-22-01-006.
Thank you. I move that application is approved with as amended by the applicant, to lower the roof and the top of the, railing / freeze, by a foot so that they don't interact at the exact same point.
Yep.
That's my motion.
Second?
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Against?
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion
Thank
passes.
you. You voted against me twice in 1 week.
Sorry.
Twice.
Before we continue,
Yes.
those updated drawings, just the lowering of the elevation, if they could be sent to me for final approval.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you guys
much.
for all your work. It's better, yeah, it's the better building.
I'm trying to figure out what the other one was. Oh,
Right,
oh,
that's the plan for,
gotcha.
All right, moving on to item 7, DV-22-02-009, 617-619 South Lozelle, and 618-620 South 3rd Street. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. And please state your name for the record.
Jeremy Andrews.
Thank you very much. Order.
This proposed work description, applicant's HOA replace fencing between the properties at 617, 619 South Lozelle Street and 618, 620 South 3rd Street prior to COA approval. replaced old wood fence with new wood fence. Fence is simple design, board to board with dog-eared pickets and unpainted and stained. Staff analysis, commissioners requested at the past March business meeting for applicant to clarify the ownership of the property. This is to determine if the fence pickets are facing the right orientation of the applicant owner's property. Commissioner McCoy reiterated that GVC does not allow dog-eared fencing. Typically, if dog-eared fencing has been installed, the commissioner requests applicant to cut the top of the pickets to make them straight cut. Staff recommends approval with any clarifications to be submitted to HPO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate with conditions that the pickets for the fence are facing the correct way and that the dog ears to be trimmed to make them flat top pickets and to paint or stain with opaque stain for the GVC guidelines. This is based off the German Village Guidelines, exterior consideration fences and walls, page 118, number 3, 4, and 6, and 7.
Anything else to add?
Nope.
All right, questions, comments from the commission? I think first off the bat was the conversation about clarifying ownership of the property for the applicant. So from that photo, which is sideways,
Unfortunately.
you confirm
And if you turn your thing, it turns.
which property or properties are owned in relation to these front two.
Front two, so if you're looking at the bottom one, that's my property at 617, and that's owned by me.
Okay.
And then the one to the left or the top of it, with the black umbrella up
The hill?
top, that's 619 South Lozelle, and that's owned by my neighbors. Now, the properties are all maintained by the HOA. So this is
Maintain, pardon me?
HOA.
HOA, correct.
All four properties are under the same HOA.
Yes.
So the fencing is being done for the HOA, which kind of makes the whole conversation a little bit different.
Yes.
That helps.
Yeah, so if that's the case, then the pickets could almost be on either side.
Which side of the
Yeah.
face in that
Yeah.
case are off the table, I
Yeah,
think just comes down to the dog ear.
Yeah.
So what we found in the past, rather than trying to tear the fence down, put a whole new fence up, is we recommended one remediation is just to cut the top of those pickets off so it's straight. Is that something you'd be amenable to doing?
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Would you like us to amend your application to include it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Item number 7, GV 2202-009, 617, 619 South Lozelle Street and 618, 620 South 3rd Street. I move to approve as amended by the applicant to remove the dog ears by cutting off the top of the pickets.
And can I add, will we request for painting or staining as well for the fencing to keep it natural?
Yes, I think the guidelines state that should be painted.
Yeah,
Just to clarify.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, it should be painted 1 year after it's built.
Thank you.
Is there, may I ask, is there a certain color scheme we should be using, or, because I don't know.
I can forward you some examples.
That'd be
colors
great.
that have been used in the past.
Thank you.
If, just make it easy, just send the chip that you want to use to staff.
Okay,
That's good.
perfect, thank you.
We trust staff's opinion on that. All right, if there's no other questions, is there a motion?
That was the motion.
I
Second.
did.
There's a motion, there's a second.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Apologies about that. Just want clarification on the painting. Thank you.
Moving ahead to item number 8. GV-22-02-010, 707 South 6th Street. Who raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Proposed work description. This application is a response to a code violation of work being done prior to a COA being issued. Garage repairs, the roof structure on the left side opposite the alley is rotten and needs replacement, as well as the shingles on the entire roof. Note that the original roof line of the garage is half hipped. The outside walls are in good condition, will be just power washed and painted. The 3 garage doors are in good condition as well and will be refurbished, repainted, and a couple of hinges replaced as they are damaged by rust. The back door that is used to enter the garage from the backyard is rotted and needs to be replaced. The windows will be refurbished, frames painted, and glass that is broken to be replaced. The interior will be power washed and painted as well. The rear sliding door window Swapped sides of the sliding door and window at the house addition back wall to be able to make the kitchen larger. Work has already been completed. Switch the openings for the door and window in the rear of the addition. Fence removal of chain link fence along north edge of property. Proposing to replace fence with 3-foot tall wooden fence. Painting fascia and trim replacement, wood trim, window frames and fascia board to be repainted. Previous work is not done properly and will need to be repainted. Stone lintels and sills that were originally painted have been painted again and have been repainted a dark gray color. Original stone porch that was not previously painted has been painted to match the newly painted stone lintels and sills. Been trim repair and replacement. Window removal. Originally at the business meeting, it was going to be a proposed removal. After communication with the applicant, it has actually been done. The work has been done. So the historic second floor window on southwest corner facing neighboring property above front porch has been removed and infilled with matching exterior siding. This was done with the previous contractor, not since the code violation or in communication with the applicant itself. Staff analysis at the past February business meeting, commissioners asked staff to clarify and locate the date of the framed second floor addition above the front porch. Commissioners asked if the lintels and sills were previously painted. Staff responded yes. Commissioners requested further information to see if the block porch was previously painted or not. At the past March business meeting, the commissioners requested clarification on whether the second story window proposed removal is original or was replaced. Staff requested additional detailed photos to help determine age, as well as to reach out to Columbus Landmarks to evaluate the window. Applicant has provided the additional supporting photos, has clarified the window has already been removed. It was done when the previous contractor had performed the other listed work prior to COA. Staff recommends approval, any clarifications to be submitted to HPO staff to review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate with conditions that the stone lintels, sills, and block porch be repainted in appropriate stone color. Paint color to be submitted to Historic Preservation staff for final review and approval prior to application of paint. Conditions include the garage to have the same clipped gable roof line and to reinstall the second floor window. This is based off of CC 311618. Approvals required. Letter C, German Village Guidelines, Masonry, page 38, number 6. Garage and outbuildings, page 84, number 1. Windows, page 62 through 66, number 1. And that is all for basis for staff recommendation.
Anything else to add?
I think that's plenty.
Questions, comments from the commission? We'll say that I do appreciate the fact that the 3 original garage doors are being retained. Don't see many of those originals left around.
Yeah, really good shape. There's no reason to replace it.
So the staff recommends that the clip roof be reinstalled and the second floor window also be reinstalled. Can you bring those up?
Yes. Hey, Stephanie. Could you bring up which one, Commissioner Field?
Either one, the window or the
Window.
clipped roof.
I was like, window or roof. The roof, the clip detailing should be on there. A lot of photos to
Mm.
There's a top, yeah, it's a lot.
right there.
Put a little dip at the end.
And I believe the truss system now is for a gable.
What we have now? Can you show us?
Page 26.
Mm. Reasonable.
From what the contractor originally submitted, he was going to install a gable. So that's what I was basing on from these submitted photos.
So do we have a clip end on the end of the garage or do we have a gate?
Everything's the way it just looks right there. The contractor told me they have all the permits and I was supposed to, you know, do that. And then once I found out that they have no permits at all, I fired him, but now I'm trying to clean up this mess.
You're right. Yeah, so there you.
To me, I think it should be the flip gable to go back in.
Just for my clarification. That is showing the backside of the garage.
Right.
Photos from before.
Hard to tell because of all the plants and everything.
Yeah. I think it's the same gable end.
So the photos from before, page 20, 6 sheets back. That's the backside. It's not the backside. That's looking from the front to the side.
But I think it's the same gable end.
Turned.
Yeah.
But it's the same tree, right?
Yep.
I'm confused of what we're missing.
So he wants to put the gable like this. And it's got
A little hip.
the little hip on the end.
Gotcha. So on page 26,
It's hard to
We
tell
can't
if that's
tell.
there.
But it should be, to me, it should
It
go
looks-
back.
it looks like it's still there.
It may be.
It's really hard to tell because of that branch.
It is still there.
It is?
Actually, you're not trying to change shape at all.
Okay.
Outside.
Yeah,
Just want, you know.
That's all I'm
bring it back to
asking.
Original.
Yeah.
If you go back one picture, you can see it's still there to the right of the tree in the other picture, one back. Yeah, you can kind of see it there on the right.
Okay.
I'm assuming it comes across, and I'm just gonna do it. So I think it's just an illusion of the picture.
Yeah.
Okay, so as long as that's staying the same, we have no problem with
Right.
that. What about the window? Like,
With the second floor window, which I don't think we have a picture of, do we?
Yes, it's at the end. Maybe? Yeah, keep going down a step. Maybe not the very end, I take that all back,
That window.
but close to the end.
That's it.
Page 61.
The one that's,
So the window is.
And the sashes are still on the property. We
Right,
discussed, yes.
yes.
They're
I think it's the original window. It would fit there, but I can't confirm. We have a Columbus landmark coming in tomorrow night. I'll have to see if that's the original window.
so you're willing to put the window back?
Sorry?
You're willing to put the window back?
Yeah, I mean, if I have to, I'll do it.
So for the applicant's sake, question for the commission, if that's not an original window, would we want a window going back in its place, or are we okay with it being boarded up like this?
If it is original, put it back. If not,
Oh,
it's okay.
understood.
That's my take.
I agree
some
with
of it is
that.
though.
Make sense?
Say, when we make the motion, we can put that into the motion, that the landmarks analysis should go to staff.
To determine.
But my question is not whether the window that was removed is a replacement or original. My question is, this was an opening that should be
That was my second-
reglazed,
My
yeah.
second question is, if it's not original, is there still a desire to have a window put back?
Well, so
Yeah,
landmarks should be able to determine whether or not it was a original opening. You're right, Dan, if I clarify, if it was an original opening.
I
whether or
would
not the
say
window-
it's this commission's responsibility to determine whether it's original or not.
Yeah,
Not landmarks.
well, there might be interior, I guess. A site where there might be.
But I'm guessing it was, there may, at least that was a window, probably, potentially more of them were windows at one time. And then obviously it's the porch that was added on top of a porch.
The windows appear to be historic from what,
Okay.
just from the hardware and just there's detailing of it as well. Not original maybe to the home, but historic in their own
That's,
right.
that's basically the only window that's there in a house that looks like it would fit there, but
It looks like it matches the other examples in the room that you sent me.
Yeah, there's other windows there too.
That's just based off my analysis.
That's all the evidence we have so far, pointing to, we should put the window back. Yeah. Any other questions or comments on the rest of the work?
Nope.
If there's none, is there a motion?
Sure. Item number 8, GV application, GB 2202-0 707 South Sixth Street, I move to approve with the stipulation that the gable end is going to remain clipped and that the window on the second floor to the south side will be reinstalled.
Second?
Second.
Any questions on the motion? Those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Ayes have it, motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you. We're gonna skip 9 and go to 10 for the sake of the folks here. Yes?
That's fine. Just clarification on the second. Thank you very much.
We're gonna jump to item number 10 for the sake of the folks who are here. Be here anyway regardless. Item number 10, GV-22-03-010, 316 East Beck Street. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Please state your name for the record.
Andrew Nezapor.
Thank you, sir. Where are you?
Proposed work description, the applicant is proposing to replace the side porch light as well as the front porch light due to damage and rust. Side porch light will be replaced like for like with an overhead gooseneck light fixture. Staff analysis of the March business meeting, commissioners requested verification that no new holes will be needed. Applicant responded stating that no new holes will be created if possible. They will be using the existing holes, otherwise the old holes will be concealed by the new fixture. Staff had asked applicant to provide the measurements of the existing front door light fixture. Applicant responded that the existing light fixture is 17 inches tall by 10 inches wide and 11 inches deep with a 9-inch backplate. Staff recommends approval as revised with any non-clarification to be submitted to HPO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate with conditions. It's based off of German Village guidelines, site lighting, street furniture, pools, fountains, and gazebos, page 122, number 3.
Anything else to add? Nope. Questions, comments from the commission?
Mr. Chairman, item number 10, GV 2203-010, 316 East Beck Street, I move to approve as submitted.
Second.
Question on the motion? I would like as a clarification that my vote will be because the gooseneck that's there is being replaced like for like. It's in a non-primary location.
Yep.
Can I ask for clarification from the commission? Are we approving the other lantern choice for the front door as well?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, we'll take the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 11, GV-22-03-011, 768 City Park. One for 768 City Park. One for 654 South Grant. All that one onto the table here. Number 12, GV-22-03-012, 654 South Grant Avenue. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Lisa Trot.
Thank you very much.
Proposed work description, the applicant is proposing slate removal of original slate roof and to replace with GAF weathered slate from the approved shingles list. Slate assessment has been provided. Staff analysis after the past March business meeting, staff requested applicant to send in additional detailed photos for the condition of the existing slate. Staff recommends approval as revised with any all clarification to be submitted to HPO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate with conditions. That the ridge be capped with metal ridge roll that will be painted tinters red or gray, and for venting to be performed on the roof ridge underneath the metal ridge roll via cobra vent shore comparable. This is based off of the 311611 standards of alteration number 6.
Anything else to add?
No.
Questions, comments from the commission?
How do you know that the venting is required on this roof?
I do not, I'm just basing it off the guidelines that was not indicated in the application, so I just was providing it,
Okay.
just in case.
So I don't think that's a requirement. I would suggest that's not a requirement because the venting may not be required on this roof. If it is, that's up to you. Certainly the ridge roll.
Yeah.
I'm going from personal experience.
That's my push right there.
Yeah. Can't bet mine.
There questions, comments? If not, is there a motion?
Yeah, item number 12, application GB 2203-012, 654 South Grand Avenue. I move to approve as submitted with the stipulation that there is a metal ridge roll that's painted tinters red or gray. That you are amending it accordingly.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Ayes have it, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's not even late.
I am losing it today.
It's fine. I might be losing too. Who did second that motion? So my apologies.
I did.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
It's over here somewhere.
Behind the computer. You came.
That might be.
Behind the
why.
curtain.
All right, moving ahead to item 13, GB-22-03-013, 304 East Casa. Please raise your right hands. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Joe Tanner. Joel Burke.
Thank you very much.
Proposed work description, this application is response to a solar violation. The application was originally seen as conceptual during the May 2021 hearing, number GB 2105042. Applicant proposes to restore the existing historical garage by removing existing siding and sheathing to realign the existing framing, and will repair or replace any rotted framing like for like. New true exterior be rustic smooth siding, 1x6 boral to be installed and painted to match existing house. Trim board, true exterior smooth, 1x4 boral to be painted white. Fascia, true exterior smooth trim board, 5/4 by 4 boral to be painted white. Soffit, true exterior double bead board, boral to be painted white at gable ends with exposed rafter tails to be plumb cut and painted white. Install new asphalt shingle roofs, CertainTeed standard 3-tab nickel gray or other GBC approved roofing shingle with new white OG metal gutter and downspouts. Existing door opening will be relocated. New door will be 30 inches by 80 inches wood door per GBC approved product list. Existing window opening is to be enlarged with new 48 inches by 30 inches fixed window per GBC approved product list. Enlarge garage door opening and install a new motorized 9 feet by 7 feet white insulated steel garage door with windows or an approved GBC alternative. Remove existing wooden privacy fence and replace 6 feet wood privacy fence. Fence to be straight cut, not dog-eared or stockade, with finished face facing with all stringers and posts on the inside. Fence to be painted or stained. Applicant proposes to add a concrete parking pad to the south of the garage. Staff analysis on February 3rd, staff asked applicant to provide additional information with their application. We requested applicant to provide existing elevation drawings of the garage to indicate the existing openings for comparison to the proposed enlarged openings. Additionally, staff asked to verify on the siding replacement with existing reveal being a 2.5 inch exposure. Applicant responded stating that after their contractor had analyzed the siding and unfortunately concluded that existing wood siding cannot be salvaged or reused once it has been removed to stabilize the frame. However, applicant revised their application to show the siding being replaced with an in-kind wood. Staff also asked for clarification for the finish of proposed garage door and would recommend to not include the faux hardware on the exterior. Applicant responded that the finish is steel with faux wood grain and would remove faux hardware from the door. At the past March business meeting, the commission requested staff to send the applicant approved alternatives of garage doors in lieu of the proposed door, which staff has submitted to applicant. Applicant has responded stating they have reached out to several vendors and stores that relate to the samples given by staff and will not be available for 30+ weeks. Applicant has provided brochure of an alternative garage door model for additional consideration. Staff recommends approval as revised with any of all clarification to be submitted as HPO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate with conditions that the original window, man door, and garage door opening size to remain. The garage door to be selected from the examples that have been sent by staff or similar for final approval in lieu of the proposed garage door. Additionally, that the original siding to be repaired and to replace in kind when necessary. This is based off 31-1611 standards for alteration, number 6. German Village Guidelines, garages and outbuildings, page 84, number 1, 3. Entrances and doors, page 179, and windows, page 177.
Anything else to add?
No, I think you clarified it. At first, I thought the boral was still being proposed, but I think you clarified, right, that we're amenable to just replacing in-kind wood. The only, I guess, question I had is on the garage, what the staff recommendation was, and whether you guys are willing to consider or approve some of the alternatives, because
The door.
For the door.
yeah.
So, take that question. We, up until recently, say the past 2-3 years maybe, wood garage doors were the only things that were approved. And we've been looking for alternative materials, the same way we went through wood to composite windows and things like that. siding. We did a big study on trying to find siding alternatives. We did find some alternatives for composite doors, which is what Morgan had sent you, and you mentioned that you reached out to vendors and supply chain issues. We understand all that. We would probably need to see a sample of that door.
Yeah.
A lot of times what we find that is, say, non-approvable to the commission, when we look at any kind of flat field panel, if you will, it's large blocking, that texture of like a rough texture.
Yeah.
That's usually on smooth panels what you see, and that usually is not an approvable surface. When it comes to faux wood, it's the grain typically is what, a wood door wouldn't have a grain texture to it. It may have a look, but not the texture. So we need to see a sample of what that proposed material is going to be to make a determination of whether it's appropriate for the village or not. Or alternative, if you know of an installation of one of these doors elsewhere in the neighborhood or adjacent neighborhoods in Columbus, we can always pop out and take a look at it. I don't think the commission would be, and this is me speaking, I don't think the commission would be approving an alternative door without having at least seen a sample or install condition.
Thank you for that explanation. The sample, I think after the business meeting, I reached out to the garage vendor and they provided a new sample. I think it's included in the package. And there's an optional upgrades to place, I think either walnut or mahogany. If you keep going.
Like a true wood overlay?
Yeah. Keep going down. It's not this garage. Yep. Yeah, it's on that page. It's hard to tell. Oh, but there's the different colors. I'm not asking for you to, necessarily do this.
I think it still comes down to the texture.
Oh, okay.
So we have to see the texture of the panel, physical sample chip kind of thing. Or again, an installed condition somewhere that we can go look at. But what we could do, for your sake, we can discuss and vote on everything else. We can break out that garage door, continue it if you'd like. That way it's still on the agenda next month. We can go from there, so at least you've got something to move forward with.
That'd be fantastic, I think. That'd be great.
All right. We can break it out later if we want to continue discussions. Any other questions, comments on the rest of the application?
Yeah, I'm sorry, because I'm having troubles with my lap. Thank you. So the question on the garage door is because of the 30-week delivery, you're asking for a deviation from the guidelines? Is that my understanding?
They're trying to find something that would be similar to what we've approved that isn't on the list to help with the timeline issue.
Non-wood option.
Yeah, I think the ultimate goal, just to kind of reiterate, is that since it is a citation response and something that the client's very keen on getting fixed, we want to get started, right? Whether that's getting started with the structure, we have to wait for the door. But I think the more things we can start with the contractors, the better. And that way the city knows we're moving in the right direction for the project.
So my comment is everybody that's in construction is having logistics problems. Over at doors right now, residentially are an issue. But because of that, I see a temporary door or temporary closure on it until the regular compliable approved door comes in.
Yeah, and just so I guess we need to bring in the samples, maybe do a harder and closer look at the comparison of what I was able to find for, compared to the samples that were provided.
Absolutely fine.
That, I mean, I'm trying to meet, trying to find something that you're satisfied and that's comparable.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to ask for.
I mean, if it's compatible with what's already, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, that's all
I just don't want to lower the standards
Correct.
because of 30 door,
Understood, yeah.
30-week, and I get that. Trust me, I get it.
Yeah.
Partitions in garages because I can't get the commercial red doors.
I think we may able, and I'll obviously leave it up to the client, if we could amend the application to do a temporary enclosure as part of it, get everything approved, and then obviously revisit with the operable garage door at a later date. That would be, get the structure the way we need it, and then we can wait for the door.
We can break up that way, that's not a problem. Any comments from the commission on swapping door locations? It's another thing I saw on there that may have any kind of conversation. While they're looking at that, you were intending to do wood siding in lieu of boral, or did you want to go boral and we're offering wood siding?
We're willing to do the wood, we're proposing the wood.
Yeah, use what they can and replace and going.
Yeah, it's a little unknown until I start digging into it, how much we can keep on the building while they push it back into place.
Understood.
And then I think there's a note about the door, that the idea is that that door would then open into the backyard, which there've been some security issues already on the property. So that would give it another layer, would be behind the wood gate and then access from the backyard.
Moving the door to the rear and then the rest will get wider, which.
That, I get the garage door getting wider.
Oh, I see, because you need to move the door in order to get the other space. You can move the fence back, I see. I was looking at the original at the time, yeah.
It's a change, but I get it.
And it's not visible now and visible after.
That's a good point too. So we're just gonna modify this, right?
Modify and then continue the garage door.
Okay.
Split the garage door, or we, yeah, put the garage door out, continue that one, and then vote on the rest. Was there a motion to split the application into two?
Go ahead.
I was hoping you'd do it. Motion to split item 13 GD-22-03-013304 East Cottage Street into two applications. The entire application minus the proposed garage door would be item A, and then the garage door itself would be item B.
Any questions on, or is there a second?
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Against? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Motion to approve item GB-22-03-013A as submitted.
Second?
Second, I would only say that they've asked for a temporary partition, just to make it clear that that's okay,
Clarify that the temporary partition would be okay.
until such time as B is passed and they can install it.
Yeah. And then my motion such.
Cool. I second that.
Question on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Against? Ayes have it, that motion passes. The motion on item B.
Motion to continue item GB-22-03-013B.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it, that motion passes.
I'm exhausted.
Thank you very much.
Very much, I appreciate it, guys.
Work, isn't it?
Wow, well done.
There's one perfect in the chair, you don't gotta do this anymore.
Oh.
All right, moving on to item 14, GB-22-03-014, 35 East Sycamore Street. You, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Casey Burns.
Order.
Proposed work description, applicant proposes a detached two-story carriage house. New structure includes a garage and bathroom on the first floor and a bathroom on the second floor. Height of the new structure falls within the average of the existing building heights along the alley. Finishes have been selected by per Durham Village Commission guidelines and are outlined on the attached plans. No variances or zoning changes are required, and the new building abides to all setbacks. Staff analysis, the following is taken from the unapproved February 2nd, 2022 Durham Village Commission hearing minutes. Commissioner comments, commissioners asked if there would be a bathroom and kitchen in the proposed building. Applicant responded that there would be no kitchen or kitchenette, only a full bathroom. Commissioner asked applicant to verify if the new structure is an addition or an additional structure on the property. Applicant verified that is an additional structure that's attached on site. Commissioners requested 2D elevation of the proposed structure along the alleyscape to understand massing and height. Commissioner commented that the whole street is residential buildings. Commissioner suggested to look into the variances that will be needed for structure as well as the property, i.e. existing additions. Applicant presented 2 separate options of style and design and asked commissioners which one they would prefer. Commissioners responded stating that the applicant should proceed with the one they think is most appropriate and how it coincides with the street. Staff recommends the commission offers feedback on design and recommends to continue the application. It's based off of 311612 standards for new construction, German village guidelines,
The IT issues.
We got a new one? 19? Yeah. Do we have one added, 19?
Organizations, but each one is like this granite memorial that has all this information on it. It's kind of, easy to design, and then finding a contractor that can build it, and it's been pretty crazy.
Are you having a hard time getting it?
Yes, we had to rebid it. We'll wait for Commissioner Parker's bids in return. Changes to it, we actually ended up removing granite fabrication, because there's granite to it in the plaza, putting it in there. Then we were able to get it built, because everybody wanted to stay away from granite. It's rough right now.
I thought about granite of all things, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Because there were some, special pieces that were sloped and things that were. And then, of course, the granite and also. All those things there.
Is that granite? Is that granite quarried in the United States?
We had two sources. Probably the weird thing is that a lot of granite manufacturers, people quarry in the United States, they send it to us fabrication.
It's cheaper to spend it on a
It's
boat.
cheaper to ship it over there. It was cheaper to ship it over, get it, cut to the specific pieces and dressed and all of that stuff and ship it back. Very long.
Granite, my list of things to not specify there.
We aren't bad.
That one may be valid for 2 weeks. Fine.
We are back on the record. We are on item number 18, which is GB-22-03-017595 South 3rd Street. Please raise your right hands. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
And please state your name for the record.
Randy Roberti, Design Collective.
Thank you.
Wayne Scheck, Cameron Metro Restaurants.
Thank you much. Morgan?
Proposed work description, applicant is proposing to expand existing restaurant patio, proposing to construct a new carriage house on 3rd Street to be used as a utility building. Staff analysis, applicant initially reached out to discuss the design with staff around the beginning of January about moving their dumpster onto their lot. The dumpster is currently being stored in the rear of the adjacent property, 583 South 3rd Street. Staff had advised applicant that we would not recommend building a carriage house in the present space since it would detract from the overall landscape of 3rd Street. Staff recommended maybe a smaller structure in the corner or to build a screen around the dumpster since that is typically seen in German Village. Staff also recommended providing existing site plan, elevation, and to discuss with zoning prior to review. Applicant is currently in discussion with BZA and zoning. Zoning recommended since the removal of on-site parking is being proposed, a parking study will likely be required by the Division of Parking Services and recommended to determine if other variances will be needed for non-conforming conditions. At the past March business meeting, Commissioner requested Sanborn maps to be added to the meeting materials, as well as to state that parking will come up in conversation during the March hearing. Sanborn maps do show a structure that was there prior to 1950, but that structure was a 1.5-story dwelling. Staff recommendation, staff does not support the design and infill of a carriage house along 3rd Street. We would recommend screening the dumpster to solve the dumpster issue. Commission should offer design feedback that can be utilized by the applicant to further refine the proposal for review at future GBC hearing. This is based on 31-16-12 standards for new construction, letter F, G, J, K, and 31-16-13 standards of site improvements, letter A. No action is required.
Anything else to add?
Yes, please. Do you mind flipping back to the existing start of the presentation?
Yes. Stephanie is my content controller.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you guys having us tonight. Just wanted to quickly give you a little orientation to what our goals are here before digging into some more specifics. So the existing site, a couple key challenges for a restaurant. There's an existing variance in place, as Morgan indicated, that is a deficiency of 52 spaces, and there's 6 called for on the site. Those 6 spaces are stacked double deep, so that technically it's 3 spaces, right? No restaurants using double stacked restaurant parking spaces. So that's challenge 1. So they're already almost at 0. But the existing building is not ADA compliant, and there's some issues with the current egress routes and egress capacities, separation, so forth. That are a challenge as well as Cameron takes over. The inclusivity for all their guests is something that they really take pride in. So it also becomes a challenge because the dumpster is currently on the adjacent property, not on this property. There's an existing patio tucked back under the large tree by the little single-story piece on the corner of the building, the elbow of the building. And then it's all parking in front of that. So it's kind of an eyesore currently. You have no view except for this roughed up parking space. And then the trash on the adjacent property is a challenge that it's currently selling, and the adjacent property owner does not really want that relationship to continue in terms of shared trash. So it needs to relocate over onto our site. But the challenge being, where do you put it when we start to look at it? So our goal today, we're really just starting this project. We haven't dug in very far. You saw the elevations. They're not really developed or designed detailed, more of a massing study at this point to start the conversation with you guys. So this proposed plan that you see on the screen is reflecting a couple things. We are reworking the grading of the site after we build this new expanded patio in order to create ADA entry and an additional code compliant egress exit from the back dining room. So we're solving some of the life safety and accessibility issues currently, problem on the site. The first question we'd ask to you, beyond your overall feelings on the project, is the patio expansion itself. That would be the first variance we would need, is the ability to expand the patio. It's currently only that, on the plan, the top left little sliver of the patio. Not very usable. The large tree that's there takes up most of that space, which we are keeping the tree. So it's not great. So our goal is to expand that patio, make it larger, more experiential, and better from all perspectives. Better for the guests that are there, better sight lines from the street driving by, overall. The second question related to that same expansion is the elimination of the 6 parking spaces. They're not very usable right now as it is. They're right on the street. As I mentioned earlier, there's 6 that are stacked double deep, so you can only use 3 of them anyway. You can't lock someone in as they're dining. So it's really a reduction of 3 spaces, even though on paper it's 6. The site is already deficient and has a variance in place for deficiency of 52 spaces. So a total of 58.
was required for the site. So that's the second question. And then obviously the third is the construction of the enclosure as well. I've heard it referred to as a carriage house a few times. It's really it's meant to be a dumpster enclosure, just as you mentioned. And actually, Morgan, I don't know that these are the latest plans. This one's showing the doors opening up to the street. You can see the elevation here. There's no doors proposed along the street. It will be a door around the side.
Should be the.
That plan is in there.
Yeah.
Is it in there?
I included both.
Okay. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
the
it's right-
door
it's right
swinging to the street, isn't the goal. The goal would be to tuck that around the side, make that a more aesthetically pleasing facade along the primary road. We're keeping it small. The goal is to house the dumpsters, but to do it in a way that brings back the historic massing that was there. I know it was a story and a half back in 1950, but the aesthetic had something in filling that lot. And also to really just continue the fabric of the street that falls off now currently, and solving the dumpster problem at the same time. So with that, I'll turn it over to you guys for some comments and discussion.
I would ask one question before I turn to the other commissioners. So the historic Sanborns do show, up that last page there, do show a building oriented, say, perpendicular to Third Street. What you're proposing is parallel to Third Street. To me, I'd be more likely to approve something if it was in more of the historical context. With this being, it's a signature building of the village. It's been what it is for a long time. And not a whole lot of the exterior has changed aside from that one little kind of porch addition. So keeping that visual along Third Street, I think, is important.
In response to that real quick, honestly, our footprint is similar in width and location to what was there historically. It was just much deeper. So there might be a little variation, but the width of it actually is relatively similar to the historic building.
But the pitch of the roof.
We're open to pitching the roof in any direction. It's more of a, we can even expand that backwards to make it add some patio covering to make it feel deeper. There's some, we can do some things to do that. But yeah, roof pitch is not set in stone by any.
So maybe I'll kick off some comments here. So I used to go to G. Michael's a lot, so I spent a lot of time in the restaurant patio, and experienced really wasn't a great parking situation. So I kind of appreciate on Third Street, which I think is a very active street. I mean, this is right down the street from Stops, blah, blah. This is a very pedestrian area. Trying to make this a pedestrian space doesn't bother me. And I think the parking situation, every time, I used to walk, but every time I saw people, both people that were going to G. Michael's were actually using the valet if they were driving, which is right in front. So losing the parking for me is not a huge issue. There's something and actually having as a activated pedestrian patio, and that's very similar to what Stops has and others and we just improved the temporary patio to the old Max and Irma space. And that feels good for Third Street. There's something to the nature of the way the building's oriented that makes it feel like a barrier, I think is what's bothering me. And I actually applaud the notion of making the building accessible, making it more open to more patrons. So I think there's a way to make it, orient the building in such a way that it doesn't feel like it's closing it off from the street, but maybe opening up to the street would be preferable to me. That's just kind of my initial gut reaction.
Yeah, I think I have to me, it feels like the roof is too tall on that building, that if it felt more like it was a garden structure, it would feel better to me, considering that the primary structure is flat roof and a commercial building.
It just needs to, okay. Well, last time we had to log completely out of the meeting. Wi-Fi issue.
Yeah.
Okay, if I see your black screen. Yeah, okay, thank you.
I'm fasting before the sunset, so I was waiting for 6:25 to eat my bar.
Close your eyes at sunset.
What's that?
Close your eyes at nighttime.
Right, well, no, it's sunset now, 6:25, because of sunset.
We good?
Yes, we are good to go.
Right, we are back on the air. All right, item 19, GV-22-03-018, 44 Simmel Street. Please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And please state your name for the record.
Elizabeth Lighting.
Thank you. Morgan?
All right. Proposed work description, applicant is proposing to construct new dormers consistent with the scale, form, and appearance of the existing dormers. The dormers will be located on the west elevation and adhere to the GBC guidelines. Replace the existing slate roof with a new roof. The client has reviewed with the roofing company, will provide a letter. The new roofing material will be a GAF slate line, English gray, which is from the approved shingles list. Proposing to vault the ceilings and extend the roof over the rear part of the house. This will require the removal of the existing balcony and door on the second floor, remove the brick chimney on the west elevation and construct a new chimney on the west elevation. Applicant proposes window replacement. Window will be selected from the approved windows list. Replace the existing north elevation rear door and window with a double door, which includes a new transom window and 2 side lights from the approved windows list. Rebuild a portion of the west wall and replace the shiplap siding and install a new window to match the existing. Repair the exterior and interior spalling brick on east elevation, as well as repairing the exterior cellar door and cellar stair cover. Staff analysis. At the past March business meeting, the commissioners requested applicant to submit additional photos to show the current conditions of the slate roof. Applicant has provided both the photos and the assessment from a Second Estimate Limited. For the proposed vaulted ceiling and removal of second floor balcony, commissioners asked applicant to reference the balcony in the drawings since it was unclear from the provided drawings. Commissioners also requested clarification on the west elevation chimney, as well as for the applicant to provide additional information about the windows, if they are original or replacement. Clarification has been provided by applicant with revised materials to indicate the removal of one west chimney, as well as where the second floor balcony is located. And research to locate a COA for past window replacement. Staff noticed there was not a COA on file for the exterior black and gray color that is currently on the home. Staff recommendation, when the applicant applies for action on this project, they should include painting for the foundation, lintels, and sills for a more suitable masonry color, since the masonry was originally painted. The commission should also offer design feedback that could be utilized by the applicant to further refine the proposal for review at a future GBC meeting. No action is required. Yep.
Anything else to add?
I think that covers most of the exterior upgrades we'd like to request. And we'd just like to get your feedback on all of those upgrades as well as the dormer options that we provided.
Questions, comments from the commission? Let's tackle first things first. Everybody comfortable with the replacing the roof? The slate line?
Yeah.
Good. Vaulting the ceiling and extending the roof over the rear part of the house. Removal of existing balcony and door on the second floor.
Yeah, that's a weird condition. The existing condition is really strange how the roof is.
It is very strange. It wasn't built with any kind of permit or kind of site analysis or historic review to our knowledge, and it was built even over the property line. So there's a couple things wrong with that rear addition.
Any idea of when the addition happened to pop on there?
There is no exact date. It's very vague. I believe that my memory, it says it was in the 80s or the 70s. A resident who rented this place before that addition was contacted a few years ago in 2016. So that person, is still living, but I'm not exactly sure when.
Then just for my purposes, looking at the Sanborns, there was an addition put on the back that took off a little small original addition, correct?
Mhm.
So this thing's been elongated, and now that addition we've talked about is beyond the property.
Correct, yes.
Put all pieces together.
And that is where we see those double windows just to the left of the door, the front door, the cellar door.
I would say, I don't think anybody have any heartache taking off a not approved condition.
Yeah, the only question is that balcony door, was it original or was it added? Right, you may not know.
I don't know.
I'm just wondering if they did that funky thing to keep something existing or if they just wanted to weird it out.
Imagine it's just to keep the existing opening there.
Maybe they call that egress.
Yeah. Just air. Probably was no air conditioning when that was built.
So the only reason I mentioned that is prove this, we may be affecting what was an original. Everybody's comfortable with that.
Right now, existing elevations, which are on sheet 9, elevation number 3 in the nest, in the bottom left corner. Looking at sheet 10, filling in the door opening. So be toothing in brick, try to match.
There's not, it doesn't even look like there's a lintel over that elevation. Sometimes what we'll do is we'll leave the lintel in to show where the opening was, right?
Yeah. That way in the future, if somebody tries to go back and do. I guess my other question would be, is there a reason why you want to keep that roof? Are you planning on changing the whole roof on that addition piece? Or just extending it back to connect?
Just extending it back, and then rebuilding it as needed, depending on the condition, when it's, when the roof is being repaired.
Only ask because sometimes we see these additions moving that pitch to get more matching in line with the existing pitch, not connecting like an extension, but tucking it up under the existing eave, so you have the same pitch, but that require redoing the entire roof versus reusing the frame that's there currently.
Right. We're not requesting that, but we can consider it if it's something the commission would like us to consider. But as of right now, we plan to keep that pitch, just matching the existing condition.
But I would agree. Would want to keep that lintel just to show there is an existing something there.
And I'll confirm if there is a lintel above that door.
Okay.
I'm sure there is something there. I'm not sure if it's the stone lintel that we see on the rest of the house. I can't tell from my copies. Zoom into the
Sycamore house that was on the applications before that I had to recuse myself, there are several wood lintels, exterior and interior on that. They're pretty darn cool.
It's too dark.
Yeah, painted, right?
Yeah, zooming in, it looks smooth, so it looks like it could be, but just check it. It's nothing we need to deal with right now.
Okay.
If it's there, leave it. It's the.
Okay.
Removal of brick chimneys.
Just one.
Which one?
So it would be the one towards the rear of the house on the east side.
Next to the door/window/balcony?
Correct. Yes. It's missing from the upper left existing house diagram. But it is very close to that door on the east side of the roof.
And then you're proposing a new chimney on the other side.
Correct, and that would be masonry built. in a similar
What's the
fashion.
purpose of the new chimney?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What's the purpose of the new chimney?
For a new fireplace inside.
So the existing chimney that's there, what purpose does it, the one that you're talking about wanting to remove that's near the,
It does go to an existing fireplace.
So you're moving the fireplaces.
Correct.
Typically, we haven't allowed chimneys to come down.
It's interesting that it looks like it's a different brick or the brick's been painted or something like that.
Well, that's part of the secondary addition.
Yeah.
We had a big battle on Mohawk over a chimney on the back of that house.
We know when that addition went on.
I couldn't tell from the sandboards. I mean, looking at the sandboards, the first one's dated, what, 1891. And the next one is 1921-22, and the configuration is different than the main house.
Yeah.
But this one's got something stuck on the back, and then 1901, which is in there, is like the previous, like 1921.
So it's like they tore a piece off.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense, you know?
We're trying to figure out if we can find historical evidence that that chimney is not an original chimney, which changes the conversation because then it's not historic. If it is historic, then we have to think about whether it needs to stay or not.
So,
Thing about the sandboard maps too is that roof. It doesn't match what's there now. The roof is all consistent across, right? With notch.
well, the notch is probably the side porch. And that little piece probably sticking out the back is where the pot was. I'm thinking the main body of this house is what we're seeing in the sandboards.
All that's under the existing slate, basically.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sounding like we might have a hard time with that existing chimney is what we're hearing here.
So let's take that chimney and set that aside as a potential hurdle.
And so if the chimney, if we are to approach this by keeping that chimney, is that just the exterior that needs to happen and then somehow we kind of elevate that and hold it up structurally?
Yeah.
If we want to remove what's inside the house?
Yeah.
That has happened.
Okay.
Make sure it's done correctly so it doesn't fall later.
So yeah,
Nobody wants that.
okay.
Thoughts on the doors, windows, infill. Before we get to that, the dormer.
then the brickwork wouldn't need to be done.
A lot of times it's the paint selections that are used. If it's a very impermeable paint, it could trap the water inside the brick wall. It's going to try to escape one way or the other. It can't go out, it's going to go in.
Okay.
So if it comes down to finding out that's the cause, the applicant's open to the idea, some chemical treatments to try to remove the paint from the brick and put on a more appropriate paint would be a good idea, long-term for the client.
Okay.
Yeah, the water gets trapped inside the brick and the brick gets below freezing and flows.
Mineral paint's usually a better option than a
Something breathable.
Yep.
Yeah, the spalling's not too bad. You can do some solids on it too to kind of shore up that brick to make it solid again.
Looks like on the pictures, there might have been some bad cut point or something done along the way too. All that could be contributing to it.
Just the wrong water.
Yeah.
Don't use our word. Any more information you'd like from us?
The window replacement, I don't know if that was discussed.
All windows or some windows?
I'll say all windows, but it might be like missing one, it might remain.
The
These
big
look
question,
like, these look like replacements.
yeah, the big question is verifying, are they replacements or are they originals? If they're originals, it's a deeper conversation. If it's replacements, then you can say that they're vinyl or replacement wood,
If they don't fit, they go through.
then it opens up the opportunity to do something for your
Okay,
approved list.
so I heard you say maybe that if they don't fit the opening. then-
Yeah, so typically if they have like a fill-in trim
Okay.
that's not just the brick mold, that would typically be an indication that they're not original.
Yeah, it looks like there's several you know that are not original. Some you were still trying to figure out
Yes,
based on the.
exactly, yes.
If they're found to be original or likely original, then it's a deeper conversation before we can say remove them. Anything else?
Touch upon. Most of the things, the other things are just, rebuilding the exterior walls. I think you kind of touch upon it, just replacing siding and repairing, kind of the cellar door upstairs as is.
Yeah, the siding goes back like for like, not a big deal on that. Brick's really the one point we're really worried about. The cellar stairs, the stairs, rebuild the covers, fine.
And then if we can find out whether or not that chimney is original, then maybe we can open up the discussion about removing that chimney.
If you're able to find evidence that it's not, that helps.
Okay, otherwise we'll discuss keeping that. Okay.
Photos, or if you go up there, it looks like maybe parged or painted over, you can kind of pick away and see what's under it. If it might matches the brick of the house, then it's probably original. If it doesn't match the brick of the house, then maybe not. So, little investigations.
Okay.
Also real quick, I forgot to mention, I guess, in the staff report, I did add it into the meeting materials, but there was a COA for the removal of non-original windows. So what is there for non-original windows? I think that was approved in 2010, so, yes.
All windows non-original or just the ones that were not original at the time?
That I can look into, but I did see a COA for replacement, so I can look to see
See what
if that's all.
holistic or parts and pieces.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Very much.
Good night.
You too. Going back to item 11, is there somebody for 768 City Park? Is there a motion to continue item 11?
I so moved.
Second.
Okay. Questions on the motion?
Sorry. Talk real quick. It's such a minor thing. It's like a dryer vent, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The commission, okay, moving on, what do you have to hear?
I mean, it's.
I am.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
As much as I agree with not drilling a hole, we've done so many.
Got
Got everywhere.
All right, so we're gonna take that motion off the table. Is there a motion to approve as submitted?
So moved.
For a second,
Second.
all those in favor? Or
Aye.
Question on the motion, all those in favor? Aye.
Wait, we don't get it next.
Against? Ayes have it, motion passes.
I appreciate that.
Last one is item 9, which is mine. Button over there.
I vote no.
Gotta have a motion first. Do we like to make a motion? All right. Please raise your right hand and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and state.
I do, Anthony Harkey.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna go over the proposed work description. Would commission like me to scan over staff analysis as well? Or do you think we're pretty comfortable with this?
I think we should follow procedure, to be
Okay.
honest with you.
That is fine. Just wanna
Yeah.
Make sure, Commissioner Field. All right, proposed work description, application was seen as a conceptual application during November 2021, GB 2111-035, and during January 2022, GB 22-01011. Changes include revised elevations, altered dormer width and siding options, a proposed 2.5-story addition to the rear of existing residential property. Applicant plans to remove the existing rear bathroom dormer of second floor addition to serve as connector. Addition of dormer on rear of existing roof to facilitate stair access to existing third floor attic space. Siding proposed to be smooth metal steel and architectural panel. Zoning variances will likely be required for existing conditions of historic structure. No new conditions should require variances. Applicant would like to propose another siding option to replace the vinyl siding on the existing bathroom dormer to remain on the 366 side of the property to be used as a test case. This material is called Easy Mag siding by Elimination. This is phenolic resin horizontal siding material that has installation options in both a beveled reveal as well as a lap installation. Siding appears to only come in 8-inch panels, but could be a simple manufacturing line change to add a 4-inch or 5-inch option. Staff analysis, following is taken from the unapproved February 2nd, 2022, German Village Commission hearing minutes. Commissioner stated the partition wall between 364 and 366 seems too massive and strong. Applicant stated that the intention is to divide, but also is proposing a living wall or art wall, which is marked in red within the submitted drawings on the east side. Commissioners suggested applicants submit ideas of what was intended for the art installation. Commissioners suggested lowering the height to line up with the second floor roof line, as well as line up with existing eave. Applicant concerned with the third floor roof looking too boxy, like a hat. Commissioners suggested to add larger windows to the top floor, maybe to carry those long vertical lines up from the second floor windows, or to make it all glass to make the third floor look lighter. Applicant stated that an additional staircase is being proposed within the wall. Because of the stairwell, applicant decided to keep the wall solid all the way up to the third floor. Commissioners requested applicant to submit a 3D drawing of what the addition would look like at eye level. Commissioner Durst suggested to carry the third floor roof line through the wall as well, or as a way to break up the mass. Commissioner McCoy suggested all proposed roof lines to carry through the wall. Applicant asked commissioners what type of foundation they would prefer for the addition. Commissioners agreed that a block foundation would be suitable for this addition. Commissioners requested applicant to verify which materials he'll be using for the addition. Applicant would like to use Vesta steel for the addition siding on west and north elevation. For the panels on the partition wall, applicant would like to use the phenolic resin mag siding, either Illuminati or fiber cement. Staff recommends approval with any all clarification to be submitted to HPO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate. This is based off of German Village Guidelines, page 93 additions, number 2 and number 4.
So
Harkey, do you have anything to add?
last hearing, we looked at the proposed design, got your feedback. We did go back to the drawing board. We provided the rendering of the original as per your request. And then we proposed 2 additional options. Option A, maintaining more of the kind of the vertical massing. Speaking back to the original, but treating a little bit differently by pulling back the wall on the second floor. Option A, there we go. And then what we did on option B was to take the cues from the commission of pulling down that vertical wall, letting the third floor space be its own thing, providing more glass up there, kind of opening it up. We get feedback on the option A, option B. I personally prefer option B of the three altogether now.
I agree. I think option B, the scale is better, feels better. And you get more windows,
Yes.
my opinion.
There is one change to the materials, so we're still looking at that metal siding. The panel, instead of doing the phenolic resin, we're looking at that that stone paneling. Looking at going with that instead, but we do have the option to go back to the phenolic or the sembrate fiber cement. But we're looking at doing more of the smoother stone look.
I think it'd be great to do any of them as a test case in this, and improve it that way personally. To see how they look, how they act.
Feedback?
I have no comment. I think it's all better.
Yeah.
No, not really.
I like option. I like the way the addition, I mean, I don't think they're battens, but that, if the vertical seam or something that you have on the third floor. It just, before that wall was so massive, so I think if the scales come down and the way you've broken it up is much better.
Obviously, we'll submit all the windows and doors and everything else when we get to that point. We just want to make sure we had nailed down the exterior design before we get too deep into the interiors. And
we're still conceptual, is that right?
It's for approval,
Yeah.
but we can approve pending detailed drawings and final material selections, or we just say, put a pin in it, and we'll come back and do a full submission.
For the commissioners. Do we want to approve an option, or do we want to allow any of the three?
I will say option B. I'll put option B up there and say that's what we're gonna go with.
Okay, well, I think it's the preferred option for me.
Yeah.
Sounds like Karen as well, so.
I like C.
Like C?
Yeah.
You like C?
Who wants to go buy a boat and go out and see?
C for contrarian?
C. Clever.
Both.
Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I motion to approve, DB-22-02-02-013. I will clarify that we were, as amended by the applicant, we are going with option B, and we are approving, we would like to see either, any of those three materials noted as a test case. We will ask that the applicant submit the detailed products, et cetera, for windows that are needed. And staff will advise us whether or not we need to approve those, or if those get staff approved. Makes sense.
That does make sense, and I concur.
Frank, we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries.
Nicely done. It's a nice project. Thank you.
It'll be fun.
Great. We have anything?
I think we're just in time for adjournment, yeah.
I have a clarification I have to make since somebody made a comment
Yes.
about being voted against twice this week. And since he threw my professional life into this meeting, I have to clarify that nobody knows how I voted or even if I voted on the other project that he referenced.
I was curious about that.
Yes, and therefore, that was an inappropriate comment from him publicly. And that had nothing to do with my judgment on. If you note that, I would appreciate it.
Yes, I will.
Right.
All right.
Actually, nobody knows who voted on those, so.
No other business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second. Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Adjourned. Thank
And
you
it's
very much.
7 o'clock. Very good.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Good job, guys. Breeze through that.
See, 4 works better than 7.
Less opinions.
Four works better for.
Night, Marcus.
We can get for it.